Hello everyone, my name is Zahidurrafif Hikmal. I'm majoring in international relation and I'm a 2021 student, and right now, today, I would like to explain Indonesia national identity and its law enforcement on free speech, especially on hate speech and hoax. So first of all, let's talk about what is national identity. So a national identity is a national personality that a certain country possess that makes them easier to distinguish between other nations. So, in my opinion, Indonesia has a lot of national identity that makes them easier to distinguish. These national identities are first, the first is Indonesian language, which is their national language. Since Indonesia has a lot of different ethnic groups, they have a lot of language, which is why they need national language that can be used to communicate between each different ethnic group to make them feel more connected with each other. And if they have a language that will be able to be used to communicate with different ethnic group, it will make them feel more connected with each other. So Indonesia will be more together with different ethnic group. So, and the second national identity that Indonesia has is their flag, which is red and white. So red symbolizes bravery and white is holiness. Red symbolizes the human body, while white symbolizes the human soul. Both complement and perfect each other. This symbolizes the journey that Indonesia took to finally gain their independence against Japan and Netherlands. And their third identity are their national song, which is Indonesia Raya. This song was written by Ratan Supratman, and this song was sung on 17 August 1945, which was Indonesia Independence Day. At first, this song was only played with a violin that produced a beautiful and nice tone. This song really burned the soul of each Indonesia in Independence Day. It truly reminded them of Indonesian heroes that has risked their life to gain independence for Indonesia. And then the fourth national identity that Indonesia has is there is Garuda Pancasila, which is the national emblem of Indonesia. And Garuda Pancasila is shaped like an eagle that symbolizes Indonesia as a country that is big and strong. And its golden and body symbolizes splendor and glory. In Garuda Pancasila heart, there is five symbol in the shape of a shield, like it's shaped like this, and its symbol has meaning. So the first symbol, which is a star, the star is located in the middle of the shield, like the and the star symbolizes the first Pancasila, which sounds Ketuhanan Yang Maha Esa. This statement means that Indonesia is a nation that fears Almighty God in accordance with their respective beliefs. And the second symbol is a gold chain located in the bottom right of the shield. Okay, it's located in the bottom right of the shield, and that symbol symbolizes the second Pancasila, which is kemanusiaan yang adil dan beradab. This chain symbolizes the human relation that will never separated, and the second symbol, which is a banyan tree, and then the third symbol, which is a banyan tree, symbolizes the third Pancasila, which sounds Persatuan Indonesia. The banyan tree is a picture as a shade for the Indonesia people to take shelter and feel safe. So when they see the symbol, they will be more safe because it protect them from the sun. It's like a shade that protects every Indonesian. And the fourth symbol, which is a bull head, symbolizes the fourth Pancasila, which is kerakyatan yang dipimpin oleh hikmat kebijaksanaan dalam permusyawaratan perwakilan. Bull are known as animals that live in groups. This illustrates that the Indonesian people also like to gather deliberation to reach consensus. The fifth symbol, which is a rice and a cotton, symbolizes the fifth Pancasila, which sounds keadilan sosial bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia. These two objects are basic human needs, namely food, which is by the rice, and clothing, which is symbolized by the cotton. The existence of rice unquote an illustration to the basic need Indonesian people need will be fulfilled so that people will become more prosperous. The fifth identity that national the fifth national identity that the Indonesian has is Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, and this motto is actually written in Garuda Pancasila. Garuda in Garuda Pancasila, like it's called Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. This and Bhinneka Tunggal Ika sounds like berbeda-beda tetapi tetap satu jua. This means that even though Indonesia consisted of different ethnic groups, they are still the same, which is Indonesia. They fight for independence together for the sake of Indonesia, to bring them together, to bring them closer with each other. And the sixth identity, which is Pancasila, is Indonesia ideology and philosophy that shape Indonesia as a country. Each of the sila is symbolized in each part of the Garuda Pancasila that I just mentioned before. There's 5 of them. It's Ketuhanan Yang Maha Esa, kemanusiaan yang adil dan beradab, persatuan Indonesia, kerakyatan yang dipimpin oleh hikmat kebijaksanaan dalam permusyawaratan perwakilan. And 5, keadilan sosial bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia. And I think that's all, in my opinion, all of Indonesia national identity that people know of and you should know, so that you can distinguish Indonesia as a nation on its own. And because those 6 national identities comes from all of the effort of Indonesian heroes for them to be able to reach Independence Day in 17 August 1945. And because I just discussed about national identity, now I will discuss about Indonesia law enforcement, especially on free speech, especially hate speech, which in social media platform, because there's a lot of hoax and a lot of hate speech right now in media platform. With the advancement of technology, which give people access to the internet, which can be used to communicate and share information in the matter of seconds, these things will obviously affect how Indonesians live their life and how they share information amongst each other. This thing will create a lot of false information and will allow free speech, which will have some hate speech in them. Even now, there's a lot of false information on social media platform and on the internet. This type of information can separate Indonesia from the truth, which will in turn makes them more prone to crime because of this false information. And because of these laws need to be enforced, because of this law needs to be enforced for this type of false information and hate speech before they can enforce the law on hate speech and false information. First, they need to define what is a crime. So, what do you think is a crime? Because according to A. Bonger, he defined crime as antisocial acts that are carried out consciously, whose action gets a reaction from the community. The state imposes sanction on the act. So for this, a hate speech and a hoax, which is a false information, is clearly identified as a crime, since both of them communication acts carried by an individual or a group in the form of provocation, incitement, or insult to other individual in various aspects, namely race, skin color, gender, nationality, ethnicity, religion, and others. And it's actually mentioned in Undang-Undang Number 19 2016, which sound setiap orang dengan sengaja dan tanpa hak menyebarkan informasi yang ditujukan untuk menimbulkan rasa kebencian dan permusuhan individu dan atau kelompok masyarakat tertentu berdasarkan atas suku, agama, ras, dan antar golongan atau sara. So this type of crime is convicted for 6 years for the longest, or they have to pay a fine at most 1 billion rupiah. As for how law enforcement will enforce this type of law is that first they will receive a report from the community, and then they will continue with the analysis of physical evidence such as print screenshot, handphone, iPad, and notebooks, as well as asking testimony of witnesses, including also an expert witnesses. Expert witnesses' testimony in the investigation of hate speech is very important because it can analyze the authenticity of the tool's evidence as a digital forensic expert and can analyze the meaning contained in speech hatred as linguist. If convincing evidence leads to the reported, the investigator will call the reported party for questioning the description. So this is based on inspection can be set status as a suspect. Furthermore, the case file, which has been declared complete, handed over to the prosecutor, comment with the suspect. But of course, because hate speech is also considered as a free speech, the law enforcement has some trouble when they want to enforce this type of law. And this type of trouble in hate speech are: the first is that the perpetrators are community leaders considered to restrict freedom of opinions. SIM card can be used without a registration process, lack of public awareness on the ban of the spread of this hate speech, as well as the circulation of a false account. And not only that, community leaders are considered as a role model in the middle community and has a face mask, so that it can cause a social upheaval if acted community. So because they have a community and they have a lot of followers and stuff like that, if they get caught or they were caught by the law enforcement, it will cause a social upheaval if acted upon accordingly with the legal process. But people think that the punishment for the spreader hate is, they will say that this type of law enforcement will restrict people freedom of expression. And not only that, SIM card can be used without registration process, and the police will have trouble because SIM card you don't have to register it sometimes. Some of the SIM card, the police, they will have trouble locating and tracking your location. And not only that, in social media platform, a lot of this account that spread hate information and other false information and hate speech also, they are usually, most of the time, it's fake account. Because it's a fake account, it's very hard for police to track them down because all of the identity on that account is fake. And not only that, there's a lot of them, so they have to search through it one by one. And because I just mentioned all of the difficulties that the law enforcement had trying to enforce law for this type of crime. Now I'm gonna tell you some of my suggestion as to how to address this kind of problem. Okay, so the first suggestion is that a public figure, especially a lot of people, a public figure that has a lot of follower and in social media platform and other platform, they should give a good example in using a social media. They should spread awareness as for how to use social media as a means to spread a speech that is not a hate speech, but rather a critical speech that will influence other people to do better in their life. And because when people see that their idol is doing something that's positive, it will make them do something that's positive. That's how this social media work right now. And as for the second suggestion that I have is that people has to consider hate speech as a crime, but not as a freedom of speech. And they have to know that hate speech won't do the country any good, since if they only spread hate speech with each other, like, it will make them separated. And if they are separated, the national security of Indonesia will be in danger. And that's why the people should recognize hate speech as a crime, not as a freedom of expression. And the third suggestion is that each and every SIM card, before being able to be used, has to go through a different verification process, so that the owner of the SIM card can be located if the owner of the SIM card did something, like maybe they spread some kind of false information, or maybe they spread hate speech, they can be easily tracked down because when they use the SIM card, they have to go through a several verification process, such as the address of their home, so police can track them down. And the first suggestion that I have is that if people want to make a social media account, they also has to go through a several process that will make them be able to make an account, and which the making of a social media account should be limited so that people can make a multiple account that has a lot of false identity, and they have to go through a several verification process to be able to make a social media account, and they have to put their real information and they need to verify it whether it's real or not. And if they have already put it, the police and or other law enforcement will be easier to track them down if they also spread some kind of hoax or some kind of hate speech. This will make the police easier to track them, and the police will have an easier time investigating them. I think that's all my suggestion as how to address these difficulties that the law enforcement had in trying to enforce law on hate speech and on hate speech and hoax or false information. I hope you find my video helpful and knowing as what our Indonesian national identities are and how Indonesia enforce law on hate speech and hoax. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.